So I think one of the biggest comments I get on all of my videos lately has been, Chad, this is a $190 ready to run car. What are you expecting from this thing? And my response to that is my Tamiya TT02 is a $120 ready to run car, but it's not ready to run. You got to build it and you got to throw about another $200 to $300 into it, making it almost a $400 adventure with tires and batteries and bodies and all that stuff. So can we find a way to spend the least amount of money to get the most performance out of this Losi NASCAR for everybody? So we're gonna have a lot of that coming up in our upcoming videos because we got some on-road today, and you can see that we've got some tuning springs here, and we're gonna be trying a few things out, but we'll save that for the next video. By the way, I'm Chad, this is the Dorky and 40 RC channel. So what I wanted to do in this video was kind of address and see if we can fix the steering issues by using our own remote with a different ESC and maybe a stronger servo. Spoiler alert, none of that worked, but I'll show you in this video anyway, because down the road, something like the 1060 brushed ESC is what we use in our Tamiya TT02. I've seen some classes and places are already allowing people to swap over to that ESC just so they can use their own radio because it does make the car drive a little bit smoother, but not a lot. I mean, it just makes, it's more of a comfort thing, and people only have to carry one radio and all that kind of stuff, whatever. I mean, after all, this is an RC racing channel and this is a YouTube channel. You know, we're not doing speed runs and all kinds of crazy stuff here. We're trying to stretch our dollar and make this class fun and super competitive, even more than it is right now. After playing around here on the bench and everything with all this stuff, I've pretty much came to the conclusion that what we got to do is figure out what to do up here in the steering rack. Now, I don't think any amount of metal parts is going to fix this. And the whole problem with this is basically the design is we've got a linkage coming in this way. We have a servo linkage on our horn here, which is really high and it's coming down at an angle. So we've got just this kink that you can see that's going on there where all of this stuff is moving, you know, and people would call this slop and everything else. And slop is okay, but when you have slop in multiple different places and multiple different angles, then that is what is going to give you your inconsistent steering and your recentering type issues. And that's what we're trying to fix. For oval, it's not so bad, but for on-road, you know, again, we need the car to come back to center so that way we're not turning left already when we need to turn right. That's the whole goal. And how can we fix that? I'm not sure. Maybe some spacers, maybe drilling a new hole here. We'll figure it out. I've tried some things gluing these pins because these bell crank assembly here that's on the inside, it likes to wobble up and back and down. And typically a bell crank is really hard and secure, and you've got bearings in there to stop all of that type of movement. And the bell cranks on here are on the actual like posts or whatever you want to call them, the little rods that go in there. And the rods, the diameter of them is smaller than the holes that are in the bottom of the chassis and the top here. So you basically have the bell cranks wobbling on there and pushing the arms, and then you've got all of this linkage deal going on. And using a different ESC and a high-powered servo, trying to bust through it, just didn't work. So let's take a look here at all of the stuff, and you guys can kind of judge for yourself. If you have a class or a track that allows you to do this, pick up a 1060 brushed ESC or talk to them about it. It's commonly available in every hobby store. It's 22 bucks, and it will allow you to use your own radio and stuff. And there's not really going to be any performance or speed advantage out of it at all that I could see, just because the motor and the battery and drivetrain and everything else are definitely the limiting factor when it comes to speed. ESCs really aren't going to give you a whole lot when it comes to this kind of class. So let's get on to the rest of the video. First thing we're going to do is we're going to swap over to a 1060 brushed ESC. $22 ESC. This is the same ESC that we run in our TT02s. It's no programming, nothing at all. We'll snap off the connector on our old ESC, put it on here, and then we're going to be able to use our own remote control. I don't have any extra Sanwa receivers, so I'm going to be using my Express LRS. We're still going to be able to find the exact same thing one way or another. If you have Spectrum or whatever, you will get the same results. If this doesn't fix all of the deadband and steering issues, being able to use sub trim and all that stuff in here, then we have a $30 servo, and we're going to see if this EcoPower 13 gram servo comes with its own metal horn. We're going to see if the combination of these two fix it. All right, so we've got the ESC installed and everything is working pretty good. We can still see that even with a sub trim, we have the issue. So is it going to be in the linkage, or is the servo going to fix it? I really hope the servo can fix it and it's not in the linkage, because that means that we have done absolutely nothing. So I think what I am going to do is I'm going to take the steering rack off of the first car that I have done all of the sanding and modification to and everything, and put it on this car and see if that corrects some of the issue. The issue has to be in this area right here where these pins go in. The pins are a 2.45-ish millimeter pin. The holes are a lot bigger. So when you put the pins in there, they wobble on the bottom and on the top. And what that kind of does is it creates this kink that doesn't allow things to kind of recenter. So I'm trying to figure out how the best way is to overcome that. Is it a construction issue? Is it just an inherent issue with the car? Or can it be corrected? My initial thought was to take the pins and glue them in to the bottom of the car, because you can't glue them into the top of the brace like I did here, because then it's very difficult to get the brace on and off. And, you know, we can just take these pins out. I just super glued them and just took one out. So we're going to make this work one way or another. I really want to solve this issue for everybody here, so we can get these cars running as straight and as good as possible with the stock stuff. Kind of a bummer that a simple fix like that didn't work, because I know a lot of people don't want to take it upon themselves to do things to their cars. Everybody just wants to take them out of the box and race them, and hey, that's fine. But I've seen people do that already and get really frustrated because the car doesn't drive properly for them. And, you know, these cars are meant to be more of like a bashing type of car. They're not really meant to be, obviously, a high performance car to run on super grippy black carpet. They're kind of made to run around parking lots and all that kind of stuff. I mean, if you're doing that, you're probably not going to have to worry about any of this kind of stuff. Maybe switch to like the softer compound tires. But when it comes to the carpet, you know, we deal with a lot of stuff here, and I think a lot of people that's pretty much where a lot of people are gravitating to. And I don't want everybody to think that all carpet cars are like this. And the thing about like carpet oval and on-road is there really isn't a budget type of, this is like it. You go from like this to a big time jump and a big time learning curve jump and everything else. So the more that we can get out of this, the better off that things are going to be. So I'm pretty excited to go and try out some stuff today on the on-road. I won't be like competing for points or none of that kind of stuff while I'm testing all that kind of stuff. It's just more for me and you and everything else. And if we find some magic bullet, then, you know, it's going to be up to everybody else if they want to invest in, you know, let's say a tuning spring set or something like that, which I think is a better option for most people than buying a $45 bleedable shock kit, because the building and redoing these shocks is A little bit difficult even for me, and especially for somebody that is brand new to the hobby. And you definitely will get a performance increase if you do a shock oil change. It definitely squares the car up a lot better, limits the roll, keeps it a little bit flatter. But you know, you want the car to roll a little bit more in the front so it turns, and you want it to not roll as much in the back so it squares up better and you get more speed out of the corner. So we'll just see how things go. I'm pretty excited to play around with it today, and we'll have the video here for you in a couple days. So we will talk to you guys later. Peace.